Hello, everyone, and welcome to Three Count Radio. And today we have not only the beautiful Bruiser, Molly Spartan herself. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing today? How have you been through lockdown?
Good. Yeah. I've been good through lockdown. I mean,
Good.
well, as good as you possibly can.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
of course, missing wrestling,
Mm.
missing being able to travel everywhere and do what I do. Well, let's say do best as part of my talent range. Um, but recently been able to do some exciting stuff and sort of
Yeah,
try and get back into the swing of things. Um, but yeah, it's not been great. But I don't think it's been great for anybody.
yeah.
But I've not gone insane yet, so that's always a good sign. I've not completely lost my mind. So yeah, that's good.
I love
I
the
also got
yet.
married during lockdown, so that was good too.
Congratulations. I've been
Thank
meaning.
you very
I'm
much.
really happy for you.
It was a quick, bizarre, small wedding, but it was good. I mean, when I say quick, we were engaged to be. Me and Wolfie were engaged to be. We've been engaged for a while.
Yeah.
But the only reason we didn't do it the previous year was because we were going to a family, like a relative who lived in Australia's wedding. So we thought, oh, we'll give ourselves more time. We'll do it the next year. And then the next year, the year went on fire. So all our plans kind of went out the window and we had to do something else. But we stuck to the date that we said we were going to get married on and got married on that date. So it was a Halloween wedding in a
Oh,
castle
perfect.
ruins in Kirkcaldy from my hometown. And it was good. It was it was fun and it was interesting and it actually gave me something to do during lockdown. So that's good. It's always good.
Gives you a reason to get out and get dressed up as well.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it was an amazing day. I
It
really,
was
really am
fun.
happy for the both
It
of you.
was, I mean, it was really interesting because there was like a storm coming in, and I mean
Hmm.
like a proper storm coming in. And we had a gazebo and we had like friends who were genuinely being human weights because they thought this gazebo was going to fly away into the sea. There's like a cliff edge in Kirkcaldy, and yeah, they thought so. Like when I came in and obviously walked down this like made up aisle, there was just like friends hanging off it like monkeys. So it was like I seen it and was like, yeah, this is my wedding. This is okay. Like it'll do. It'll be good. So I definitely had an interesting one. It wasn't a run of the mill one, and I have a story. And even during a pandemic, we managed to do something that was kind of fun and cool, and sort of yeah, we've at least got a story for our wedding. It's not just it was a
Oh,
lovely day in July and the sun was through the sky. No, there was a storm coming. We had an hour break, got married in that hour, and then during Halloween on a blue moon, because it was on a blue moon, it was just mad.
that's
So
a
yeah, it
Molly
was fun.
Spartan wedding.
Oh, 100%. It was on, so where it was in Kirkcaldy, which it was at Raven Craig Park. If you're from there, you'll know what it is. And there's like castle ruins there. But there's like stories are, is like, eyes are sort of down away. The caves down there is supposedly where the devil comes out of when he comes to Earth. Is like the stories, and there was like battles and that of the devil in these caves. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
like we got married in the place where the devil comes out to Earth. It was a blue moon in a storm. Where yeah, it was 100%. It was a Molly Spartan Wolfgang wedding. Like if it had gone normal and it went smoothly for how bizarre it was.
Mm.
But if it just been like really sweet and nice, I would have been like, someone's up here. This is me real. Nah, nah. But the chaos was kind of part of it, which was lovely.
Good, good. That sounds honestly like a perfect wedding.
Oh, it was great fun. It was great. The only thing
Good.
about it was we weren't like allowed like a proper reception.
Mm.
So we've planned on having that another time. Like we've
Yeah.
just went pause on it. So we've done the married bit, but now we're going to go and have a big Halloween party. Maybe in like August or something. I don't know. So yeah, there'll just be a massive Halloween party at some point in the future.
I look forward to seeing about it.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll see a lot on Instagram about it.
yeah. It won't even be my Instagram; will be everybody else. Like, like, ah.
So you mentioned doing a couple bookings this year. I was actually meaning to ask you about that. It must be really weird wrestling without fans.
It's unusual, yeah. It's
Mm.
a very different environment. I could say that for the least. It has its positives and definitely has its negatives. Like obviously a massive negative, the fact that nobody's there. Like you are wrestling to no crowd, which is completely the opposite of everything that you really sort of trained for and did like that. And like how to be in a ring kind of thing. But I've sort of taken it on myself. I just sort of keep in my head now thinking everything needs to sort of go towards the cameras because that's where the audience is. Like the audience is there, it's just down that giant eyeball in a camera now, and they're sitting at home. So yeah, that's kind of where we sort of have to just try and direct everything now. Instead of like you try and direct some of it to there, of course, but yeah, everything now goes that way. I think it's going to be interesting trying to adjust the opposite way as well, because the group of us who have been obviously been very lucky, both for ICW and for even Progress down south, we've all sort of adjusted to this new way of performing, and it's going to be really interesting when it goes back to us going, don't do everything on camera now. Like, I think it's going to be very interesting because there's going to be some like crazy stuff happens when we all go back because folk are just going to be like, yes, people, and then yeah, it's going to be fun. But yeah, it's very different. It's done in a very sort of strict way. I know I can only obviously talk about ICW as that's really predominantly where I've done it about. But I know it's done in like we do it in like booking like filming sessions, let's say. So I don't actually, it's a weird sort of thing watching a product back that you're on heavily, but you've not seen anybody from the rest of the show. So any of the other matches that are filmed, we're not in the building at the time. It's been done very like how NXT UK are doing it. So it's done in a sense where you have your sort of filming time and date and stuff like that. You arrive, you do sort of your temperature checks, you fill in sort of like obviously a COVID response sort of thing, wash hands, anti-bac, wearing masks, everything like that. And we're like all wearing masks until we basically go through the curtain. It's like music plays, take off mask, put to the side, go through the curtain kind of thing. You've got your own wee area of dressing room. Any staff that are in the area are basically like, there's an area where you film sort of your speaking sort of promo kind of stuff. Like the guy that's using the camera is kind of like, it's not like a shower curtain, but it's pretty much like, it's like he's in this little cocoon kind of thing so that he's by himself and away from you kind of thing. And there's like a perspex sort of thing where the camera comes out so you can see him. But he's in his own little bubble, and we've all kind of, I mean, it's of course it's completely necessary. It's something that they need to do in order to keep everybody safe, not just the talent, but obviously the crew. Especially the crew who they do see everybody. I haven't. Like I've not had a chance. And it's one of those things that's kind of gutting because a lot of guys are doing great work, and it would have been like great to be able to actually witness it live and be part of that live show. I mean, it does make watching sort of Fight Club on the network even that bit more exciting because it's like, right, well, I know what happened in my match, but what happened in theirs and how does it work? And are we kind of like, it does sort of make it fun because like if wrestlers are being honest, they do watch back some of their shows. But one of the brilliant benefits of being a wrestler is you get to watch all this wrestling all the time. So you don't tend to sit down and watch a show, you know what I mean? And that you've already seen because you were there. But now I'm getting to go, Saturday at 5 o'clock, right, get my tea ready, like, okay, it's at dinner. Like, sometimes I'm not bang on 5, but usually, like, dinner time on a Saturday means I'll sit and watch Fight Club and see what everybody else is doing. So that's like a positive of it. But yeah, I also just miss everybody that I share normally share a locker room and have banter with, and you know what I mean, have a laugh with, and I know who turns up with snacks, and I know who doesn't, and who am I sitting with, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's one of those things that it's very jarring at start with. We've kind of got used to it now. It's now the reverse going to be going back into crowds and being like, my lord, it's got warmer in here. Oh, it may be those couple of hundred people in the room now that was not there previously. One thing I definitely say as a female wrestler, with there not being anybody in the room, your makeup melts less. Like, your makeup stays on your face better. Normally when it's really warm, you get the melting effect. And I've had like points where I've got like big black panda eyes because my mascara's ran everywhere. Because the room's so hot and you're wrestling. Where if there's nobody in the room, it's not as warm. So that's kind of a positive. But I would rather have a melting face full of makeup than no people in the room. So yeah, I'll get used to it again.
I'm sure it'll be like riding a bike. I'm sure once you get through the curtain and fans are there, you just be like, right, back into it.
Back into it. I'm not going to come in and go, can you all leave, please?
I would actually, I'd love to see that just come out like, hey, no, go on.
Right, everybody, I'm going to have my match now. Can we all just leave? I'll come out and tell you what happened, but you just need to be outside. Thank you. Bye.
You can watch on demand, all right? Just go on.
Hey, if they all get all of a sudden get more subscriptions, I'll be like, you're welcome.
That was all me.
You can watch my match on the WWE Network. Thanks very much. Right, bye.
That would actually be a great gimmick for like wrestling returning.
I didn't miss a single one of you. Now leave.
Something I can imagine a heel Molly Spartan saying, to be honest.
Yeah. Depends on the day I've had.
Yeah, true.
If I've been fed, I should be all right. If I've not been fed, I would not put it past me.
Fair play. Talking about the crowds. One thing that does interest me is different regions of the UK and how much it may differ. So what would you, if there are any anyway, what would you say the differences would be to a Northwest-esque crowd to a Scotland ICW crowd?
I mean, it happens everywhere. Like it differs all over the world. Like I've wrestled up and down the UK, and it's a weird, like, obviously my debut matches and stuff like that when I was first starting were in like Glasgow in Scotland, and because that's where I train. And but the majority of my wrestling career has happened in England, and it's happened sort of Liverpool a lot, Manchester. Like I really sort of got into gear when I was in Manchester, with Futureshock and sort of that sort of area. Obviously do a lot in Liverpool now, a lot in Newcastle, and then even down into sort of London and around kind of thing. Glasgow is very sort of unique, but it always has been. It doesn't matter what kind of performance it is. They're a crowd that you have to impress them, and you can like musicians. I've heard musicians even say this, and it was interesting listening to like musicians that I really liked talk about the Glasgow crowd, and when I started obviously wrestling sort of in Glasgow more, I sort of really understood what they meant. But it's because you need to impress them. You need to bring your A game and go, hey, this is what I am. And it might take you a couple of tries to get them on side, but as soon as you have them on side, they are so loyal. Like, they will follow you to the ends of the earth, and they will, like, go after absolute, be it they love you or hate you, they are passionate, and everything gets thrown. And, like, people come up for, like, the big ICW events, and it's great. It's really fun, and it's really exciting to wrestle in front of a crowd like that. But it's the same everywhere. I think it's quite a British thing where there's certain areas that are easier to win over than Glasgow, because Scottish people can be quite stubborn. And I'm just like, no, do something first before I cheer you. I'm not just cheering you for the sake of it. And you're like, right, okay, let's do this. I'd say, like, the sort of north of England are easier to win over, but they're the same sort of mentality where if you're able to show that you can perform and that you are worth their time to come and see, they'll come back and they'll tell you, and they'll come and tell you about the last time they seen you and the time before that, or when they ended up, you surprised them being at this show, etc. Like, every place is really sort of welcoming. These are all vaguely sort of the same volume, let's say. I have to say, the only place that I've seen men crying at a show out of sheer excitement was in Glasgow. Well, no, Glasgow, and I seen men cry when they seen Triple H arrive at ICW in Cardiff. But I think that had something to do with more like they couldn't believe Triple H just walked through that. Like, it was a strange experience. Even I was like, this is real. This is real. It's actually, we got like a text message saying, Triple H is coming. And I'm like, no, he's not. No, he's not. And he was like, he says, I was like, okay. And I remember I was coming down like stairs at the back of the venue, and I'm shouting, where is so-and-so? And blah, 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 blah. And I open this door, and I'm like looking back, and there's Veronica Lestrange, who's one of the presenters. She's sort of just like here behind me, following me. And I've opened the door, and I'm talking to her, and I could see her face is just went. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I turn, and it's Triple H is like there. And it was a genuine like, well, hello, son. Yeah. Okay. And he's like, hi, and I'm like, I'm fully aware of who you are. And sort of said the hello and everything. He went by, but I just remember being like, blah, 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 blah. Oh, hello. Join Cardiff. The funny thing is a friend of mine who worked for NXT at the time and sort of done a lot of the booking of venues for like outside of America for both WWE and NXT and stuff, was my mate Dave. And Triple H proceeded to move and go past me to say hello to Veronica, who was on the stairs. And Dave was behind him. And I was like, Dave! Because I didn't expect, like, not only did I open a door to a Triple H was a door and then moved, and my mate Dave was behind him, and I was just like, Dave! And hugged my mate Dave. And I was like, Dave texted me later going, do you understand how great it felt for you to be like, why, hello, Triple H? Dave, how you doing? He's like, I felt great. And I was like, I'm here for you, pal, I'm here for you. But yeah, it's like, but so yeah, like all the crowds in the UK are great. You're very passionate, but yeah, it's very much a case of you need to impress first.
Yeah.
Then as soon as you impress them, you are loyal, and it's great. Like there's other places that are more, like German crowds are very close to the ring, right? They are around the ring. There's not like anything having there's not been any barriers. So like if you're going to do anything that's like outside the ring, you actually need to keep an eye on like, do not kick a fan in the face. Do not kick a fan in the face. Don't act like by mistake, but don't accidentally kick somebody or do anything like that. So you do have to be more aware of that. Because it's not even like, even though there's like obviously shows here that don't have any barriers, but the chairs are at least like a good like row apart kind of, and there's like at least like a space around the ring. Yeah, that doesn't happen in Germany. They're like here, you can touch the ring, and you're like, okay, right, I can't like, if I'm going to like go out that way, I need to be like, move, run, go, okay.
That doesn't
But
sound
yeah,
safe.
like it is, because they're German, so they pay attention, and like they're fully like, yeah, they're just they move, but there is that part of your brain's just constantly there, going, don't, you can't, even if it's an accident, you can't kick one in the face. Not that I would ever deliberately kick a fan in the I'm just going to clarify that. There's not me saying just like, I want to kick up. No. But yeah, you're aware of that. I went to Tel Aviv and wrestled, and they were all really nice. Like, really, like, they were really nice. Like, it's one of the only places I've ever wrestled where after the show, I was like inundated with messages of people like saying like, thank you for coming. We really appreciate the fact you've come this way, and etc. And I was like, it's my job. But it was really nice. It was really nice to have that sort of thing. But yeah, like, I've wrestled all over. But like a very British thing is, impress me and then I'll stay by you forever.
Yeah.
But you need to impress them. If they think you're rubbish, they won't have the time of day for you. So you need to impress them.
Yeah.
Or they will just be like, no, thank you. Next. And you're like, okay.
Very, very passionate, the British people, very, very passionate. And you are right, like, it takes it they'll watch, they'll give you the time of day, they won't just judge and then like, yeah, nah. They'll watch, but you are right, it's like you have to do something. You have to have that something, or else there's like
Yeah, and so they'll come back for other people, but it doesn't necessarily they'll gravitate towards you. But I mean, it's kind of good that it'll make us work harder, as performers, to make sure that we are impressing a crowd. And even if it's a case like, I don't mind it if people being like, no, go away from me, because they don't like me, because my performance is not meant to make you like me. That's fine, like that, but that's still interaction to me. If you're telling me to bolt because you're like, boo, I don't want to talk to you, that still to me is the same as the person that's like, you were great. Like, it's the same sort of recognition. But if you just don't give a flying about me, like, fair enough, some people won't. There'll be some people that don't like it, the fact that I'm female and I'm wrestling. And I get that that's a thing. Even though it shouldn't be, you know what I mean? Nowadays it shouldn't be, but I also understand. So, that it does still happen, so I don't take it proper personally. But I always try my best to give it all I've got. Because at the end of the day, I also love this too. And I know I don't want to be in that seat watching somebody that doesn't put their heart into it. Because it's very easy to see. The one thing I also give British fans, and England is going to protect against some absolute belters, is the fact we all have like chant originality. So like, we do also treat crowds like they're all football matches. So there's singing, there's chants, there's sometimes dancing. You know what I mean? When they're really into it, it's a massive part. Like, that's why the Raw after Mania is the best. It's because it's full of Europeans. It's not, it's a bunch of British folk, and then you've got a bunch of Europeans who have gone to Raw. And that's what's done it, because Americans' chants are all like, sorry guys, but you need to get your game up, right? Americans need to get their chant, and they try and replicate it, but they don't have the rhythm and they don't have this. So when the Europeans are here and we're going, this is how you do it, they go, oh, yeah, like, it is fine. But yeah, that's why. That's a very European, but it's a very British thing, like turning anything into just a big laugh and a chance to have a sing and dance about pretty much anything.
Yeah, like the Brits have that knack. of just
they're singing and dancing about people fighting. Like they're like, yeah, and you're like, okay, let's do this. But yeah, American chants are awful. They're like, let's go. Nah. Oh, okay, right. Anything else? And then it's like, go team. You're like, oh Jesus Christ! Like, I got really excited. I went to America. Like, so I love ice hockey. Is another thing I love. And I went to see the Chicago Blackhawks versus the Florida Panthers. And when I came out, for some reason, somebody was playing Chelsea Dagger, like They were playing it on the outside, and I was like, "Why were you not doing that inside like that?" Because it's such a thing here. People just like just going for it, but they were outside, like just playing it out of their car because Blackhawks won that game, and it was Blackhawks fans playing it, so like they were celebrating, but they weren't dancing. They were just playing it like they knew it was a celebration thing. But when I was just like, well, you are rubbish at this. Like, you're rubbish at this. Then you come and teach us how to do this.
I don't get it. Have you heard the? Well, I hate saying this. The soccer chants, football. Like Americans when going to football games. I hate that word. I didn't want to say American football because that's different. So I didn't want to say that.
This is the thing, right? They go like, it's not football. And I go, wait a minute. Our game that the rest of the world call football because the majority of the game is dealt with people using their feet to kick a ball. There is one person that can lift up the ball, but they can't even like it's not like the goalie can just take it and run up the pitch and just throw it in, right? He has to kick it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, how on earth is that not? How's yours football? Yours is some screwed up version of rugby, and you went and put a bunch of padding on you, a bunch of chases. It's not football. Don't give me. Oh, football.
It's ridiculous.
No, you're the only country that calls it that. I was like, and everyone like, shut up. Shush. Silence with you and your
I remember having an argument with someone. Some American was trying to explain to me once that American football came first and it's this. I was like, wait, hold on, what? Did it? Are you sure about that? Okay, one quick Google search will really put that to bed.
If American football came first, why do you call it American football?
That's all you need to say right there.
Like, if that came first, surely that's just football. No, the rest of the world call it football. You call it soccer because for some reason you've decided that yours is American. Oh, shut up.
Nah.
Like, you don't, it's got like, it's literally go, you mean the game where you predominantly use your feet, so your foot to move a ball. Football. Anyway.
This podcast took a turn.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's what we love. Speaking of Futureshock though, you had a full dominant year of the women's title, beating Lana Austin for the title and bookending by losing the women's title to Lana Austin. But in between was a dominant reign with the Queen Bees. How was that year for you? Because I'm not gonna lie, for me in general, it was amazing. Absolutely loved the Queen Bees.
It was, for me, I don't think like, I have to like, I thank Futureshock a lot, and I've even said this to the person that sort of brought me into Futureshock at the time was Chris Brooker. He was the guy that was sort of booking and running it at the time. I don't think he's there anymore. I think it's run by others, but at the moment, but at the time it was him. And it was that sort of thing. Like I knew Brooker for a while, like for a good few years before I even started training, and he'd do sort of tours with individuals. Like he did one with like Roddy Piper and stuff like that around the country. And I would help out. Like he was friends with a commentator called Billy Kirkwood from up here. He does ICW, and so obviously I was friends with Billy, and in doing so, sort of just I'd always just sort of say like, look, if you need a helping hand, I'm here. I did it with, I still do the sort of same thing with Inside the Ropes, etc. So I'd met him, and obviously sort of every time he'd see me, he'd ask me like sort of how was my wrestling going and what was like how was I progressing and stuff like that. And he sort of took a chance on me and said, "Look, well, are you ready for matches?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, I am." I was at that point where I was wrestling in Glasgow. I was having matches sort of here and there every time there were sort of GPWA shows. I had matches that I could send, and he sort of took a chance on me and gave me just one match at first against Lana. And yeah, it went great. I didn't get the win, but at the end of it all, I made some sort of an impression. And I don't think it was even a year later. I think it was
It's a few months. It was
a few months later.
late 2017.
Yeah, that feels like so long ago now. Sort of came into it, and it was just the fact that like I still felt like I was a bouncing baby in comparison to others. I'd been around wrestling for a long time. Like my history previous to that was sort of the production side of things. I learned how to do everything around the ring before I did what was in the ring. And that was purposefully. It wasn't just because I couldn't get booked, which it's sort of like I wasn't that. I purposely was doing everything around the ring. Because in my head, I was never meant to be a wrestler. I always believed that I was never meant to be a wrestler because at the time, what I would look on television was sort of the time of the diva searches, where it was all models and stuff like that. So to me, there was nobody that I connected with. Like growing up, I loved China, and like even now, like Bill Nakano and stuff like that were like your bigger sort of women. But China was a whole different other thing altogether. She was just a spectacle.
Yeah.
I think the closest sort of representation I probably had was somebody like Beth Phoenix, who like I completely look up to. But obviously like there's nothing against her, but I don't see myself in Kelly. You know what I mean? Like I'm just it's not there. I don't like see myself in her. And it's nothing against her as a performer or anything of that. It's just that didn't relate to me at all. But I always wanted to work in wrestling. I wanted to be part of it. So I went to the production side of things. I thought, right, go for creative. And like I have an honours degree in television because I went and learned how to actually make a TV show. So I understood like how the cameras work. And I basically turned it into like a wrestling degree. Like every Tuesday I would watch Raw in a little room that had a projector and take notes. I actually found my university notebook like a couple of weeks ago, and it's quite cringy to flip through. Like at the time, I loved CM Punk. The amount of times I write just CM Punk is great, just and by itself, off on its own wee thing. I'm just like Jesus Christ, hey. There's CM Punk mark at the time writing it. But it was that way where I just didn't. So I learned everything outside, and it wasn't till basically GPWA opened up. At the time, I was sort of just, as a friend, sort of supporting the guys and saying, like, look, I'll be student number one. I'll be your first student, so that hurdle's over. Like, we'll go into that way. Because I thought, like, I could learn the different perspective. I could learn what happens in the ring so that it would benefit what I was doing outside, would understand how to film it better, would understand that sort of thing. Because everybody knows, like, referees have wrestling training. The predominant, like, there's very little people who do anything within, like, wrestling who haven't had some form of training, be it just how to roll or how to do something quite simple. They all sort of know how to do the basics. So I thought, right, I'll learn that. I'll get that perspective of things. But it was that strange sort of thing where how GPWA do their classing is that you have like an induction class, which is 8 weeks long, and you learn to a certain point. If you're able to do that, then you move on to the next class, which is like another, I think it's like 6 or 8 weeks to get to a certain point. And once you're able to do that, then you can either move up to the main class or you have to sort of do this. So they're trying to dress things like it's nothing against, and I'm saying this as someone who's not some tiny whippet with an 8-pack or anything like that, but like some people, sometimes it is their physicality that's holding them back, be it they can't, like there's simple things in wrestling you need to be able to do in order to keep you and everybody else safe. One of those things is a lot of people ask me like, oh, I'd love to do wrestling, and the thing I genuinely say to people is, can you do a forward roll? I'll go, yeah, or and they go, no, but that's incredibly important in order to be able to be a wrestler. If you watch it, people getting thrown off or evading or everything, it's all rolls and things like that. It's basic things that they need to be able to. So if they can't do that, then we need to find out why you can't do that. Is it because maybe it's you are a bit too heavy and you need to sort of trim in areas for your body to physically go over, or because there will be big guys, but they can still move. They know how to move their body, kind of thing. So they would sort of address that sort of thing because it's keeping everybody safe, but also just they don't just want to be that place that's just taking somebody's money when it might not be for them in a safe way, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'd sort of done that, and I managed everything. Like I was able to do everything, and even I remember after the 8 weeks, and God rest his soul, but Adrian McCallum Lionheart saying to me, I'll be honest, mate, I thought you were, am I allowed to say a bad word?
Go for it.
I'm just checking over it then. I'm sorry, mate. I thought you were going to be shit, but you weren't. And I was like, thanks. And he was like, no, like you've, like I basically I proved them wrong. He thought she's going to be useless, and I wasn't at all. And it was that weird notion of like in that 8-week period, sort of that feeling of I found where I always was meant to be, like where I wanted to actually be was in the ring. But I'd always, like society and everything that was portrayed to me through the television told me that I wasn't wanted. Like someone my size, someone of my build. Like I'd always just been bigger than people. Like I'd always just, growing up, like through school and everything, I was always just slightly bigger than everybody else. And this isn't me going, oh, woe is me or anything like that. I just was. It was just a fact. And it was that way where I just didn't see myself in that world. So I never tried to be in it because I didn't want to be told that I wasn't wanted in something that I loved so much. But finding it eventually and being like, I can do this, and I can do this being me. I mean, at the time when I started training, like Piper Niven Viper was absolutely crushing it in Japan. And like, I don't think she's such a beautiful soul. I don't think she can even understand how much she inspires girls that aren't just petite little things, that bigger lassies can do this. And she is like, she's so lovely that it won't even fathom to her how much of an impact she's had. And even if you're looking at WWE, people like Nia Jax, Raquel Gonzalez and stuff like that are just bigger people. Even Rhea Ripley is in incredible shape, but she's not small. You know what I mean? Like, she's not a small girl. She's big and sort of dominating, and there's a presence about her. And it means that girls that have a presence about them are welcomed now. And it's not, they don't need to be dolled up to the nines. And I mean, I'm partial to a red lip and a bit of makeup, but having nice hair, but I don't need to be that. I can be whatever I want to be, and I can be me, which is the main thing, and I can feel comfortable doing what I'm doing. But a massive part of that comfortability and a massive part of my confidence building was Futureshock. And the fact that they pretty much took a chance on, at that time, someone who was pretty much a nobody. Like, I was doing my best. I wasn't just not doing anything. But they really took a chance on me, and I gave it everything that I could. I knew that this was a chance for me to actually develop as Molly Spartan, to truly find out who Molly Spartan was and who she was as a wrestler, as a performer, as just, yeah, it's that way where I was also able to try so much new stuff and new ideas and new approaches that I'd always been sort of circling in my head, but actually put them into practice for myself rather than somebody else. And yeah, I will always say nice things, even though, yes, right, but about it, because I truly think that I don't think if I had that run with the Queen Bees, with Jayla Dark and Casey Owens, like, I don't know if you'd be seeing the Molly Spartan, today on things like the WWE Network and on things like that, because sometimes, yeah, you just need a wee chance. And from that, you can grow and you can experiment. And Futureshock did that for me. And I will always thank Chris Brooker and everybody there who took that chance on me. And it was that sort of feeling as well of like, I'm doing okay at this, because it was nearly every month it was a car of Scottish people coming down to Manchester or the surrounding area in order to wrestle, and we became part of that roster. And I've made some great friends through it who, if I see now it shows, I'm just like, I did, like, and I know them through that. And like, they're always like, oh, see how you're doing with this. But yeah, all GBWA taught me everything I had to do physically, but Futureshock really gave me a chance to teach myself and be able to sort of get experience from other people on how to really become who I was going to be in the years to come.
So Futureshock was like your first major program?
I'd say so, yeah. Like, I'd done like shows where it was just one bit here, bit there, and ongoing. But yeah, I'd say like Futureshock was my first like major program. It was the first, but I'd always been around major programs because I worked for ICW for years before it. So I'd always been around major programs. I always knew like what was required in order to really drive something. But it was just never me who was doing the driving. I had the roadmap at the side going, this is what you need to do. But somebody else had the wheel. But for a change, it was me that had the wheel. And I had two great performers who were coming along for the ride as well with me. And they were taking a shot at the behind the wheel occasionally. And yeah, it was like my first major sort of program. It was my first, it was my first championship. And it was actually my only championship. But it was that way where now I understood. It also taught me as well about how to respect a championship and use it correctly. How it's such an honor to be given something like that, because someone actually credits you enough in order to give you their championship, but to not just use it as I'm the best and I've got that kind of thing. It's a way of creatively using this item in order to make matches feel special and for matches to feel, to actually be creative about it and how to sort of make sure that you retain it, or etc. It actually made me actually really think about how important a championship is and how it's not the be end and all to have one, but how to creatively use it so that it's not just an item that you carry to the ring, that it is important, that it is something that people want to see you either get or get taken off you. And yeah, I was able to really do that at Futureshock, because when eventually we dropped the title, the reaction was incredible. You know
Yeah,
what I
it
mean?
was.
It really meant something to people who were watching because they just spent a year going, it's these dickheads again, right? Can they just go out? Like, and we did. And the sweet thing about it is when we did go away, I got a lot of people going, wait, where are you going? And I'm like, wait, you've just spent a year telling me leave. I'm left. And now you're like, no, come back. But that's great at the same time because it means that it's that sort of reaction where if someone's going, go away, but it means that I've got their attention and they enjoy my performance to a point where they're like, I wish you would leave. And then when you do, they're like, no, wait, no, don't leave.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, it's that way where it is. It's tremendous, and I adore Manchester and the sort of surrounding areas of Manchester because of it, and it will always hold a very, very dear place in my heart because of how much it helped develop who I was going to become and how I look at things and how I approach things for myself rather than others. So yeah, it was such a big risk that they put on me, but I'm very glad that they did. So yeah, I'm being nice. Jesus Christ.
That surprised me, to be honest, because I didn't know who you were before Futureshock, and with the way you and the rest of the Queen Bees and Kayla and Casey, Kayla and JC,
Jayla and
Casey.
You get tongue tied.
I'm the host of the show.
It's okay. That's why I'm here. It's fine.
Dear me. Jada and Casey, you, you carried yourselves as if you've been doing this for decades. You carried yourself really well.
That's the thing. Casey and Jayla had been doing it for years. Both of them had been out to Japan. Jayla had done Ice Ribbon. Casey done Stardom. She'd been tagging with her sister for years. I was the newbie. I was the one that was like, hello, everybody. I'm here. I was that one. And it was odd because I will say, I'm very honoured and privileged to the fact that this training school I came from and how it's a very respectable place, but it is that place where if you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing they prepare you for being able to perform and how to be able to perform if something goes wrong or something goes sort of way. And it is my coaching staff, to even start off with, was my to become husband, but obviously not at the start. It wasn't Wolfgang, BT Gunn, Jack Jester, Red Lightning, and as I say, God rest his soul, Lionheart. That was the starting. But the years have gone on. We've ended up adding people like Kaylee Ray, Stevie Boy, Jackie Pole, Liam Thompson, and other people coming in and people doing different seminars to do stuff. And it's this hub, and I'm very glad that it's that way where we have sort of a stage, stepping stones in order to become part of that. So we used to do nights at the asylum, and we'd hold these shows in the training school, and we'd all sort of get matches and learn how to work in front of a crowd. But now it's sort of, we do £5 wrestling, which is essentially you pay £5 to come in, and that's usually everybody's sort of debut match. They get their first match in front of a crowd. It's usually friends and family, etc., because they're paying a fiver to come and see their niece, their nephew, their son, their daughter, whatever, doing their first match. Then there's Wrestling Experience Scotland with GPWA, which is more sort of, you end up going to different towns, and it's family-friendly shows, and you go to different towns, and you get to perform in places that aren't your family. So they're not going to just cheer you because you've come through the curtain. You need to sort of work the crowd kind of thing. And then, of course, the other thing that's associated with the school is ICW. And if you're able to get to that stage and that sort of performance level, that's sort of the place where you'd end up going. But for me, like when it first started, obviously we do the £5 wrestling, not the £5, but like the shows in the asylum, and sort of do bits and pieces, like Newcastle a couple of times, done a show in London, like maybe once or twice and stuff like that. But Futureshock was established. Like even when I first started, like I was aware of who Futureshock was. Like that's where like loads of names had come from and had trained. And like even now, if you look at, you've got your Gibsons and your James Drakes and everything like that coming from like a lot of it coming from there. Of course, they went everywhere, but yeah, it's that kind of place where like loads of people who, even when I was there, like Ashton Smith was there and stuff like that, who are all now NXT UK, and there was so much great talent coming from them that, of course, I knew. So when I got my first booking from it, I was like, oh, this is cool. And it was that way where I genuinely at first was like, thanks, Brooker. Like you're being nice, you're giving your friend a try. But I knew that it was ample opportunity to actually show him, like, yeah, you've been lovely to give me this and to give me a try and see how it goes. And if it goes tits up, you'll never have to see me again, but I'll appreciate it anyway, all the way. But the fact that I was like, I'm going to make sure that this goes well. Like, although I fully appreciate this, I am taking this opportunity to show you that I would be someone you'd bring back. And at that point, I thought maybe they'll bring me back for 1-2 shows, like down the line. If they have like a big Rumble thing, then maybe they bring me back then. I didn't expect to go into a year-long program, but I'm very glad that I did. And I'm very glad that I did something right in order to be given that, because I know what it means. And I know how much it means to everybody and everybody around that area. And especially for them to go, let's give it to a Scottish person. It's huge, because everybody sort of from there had sort of come from there, and they were very sort of local, and I was the stranger. But I'm glad that I was sort of like, my approach was, I'm going to do something here that gets attention, but in a very respectable manner, of course. But yeah, that's sort of my first thing. But I think being with JLA and KSA as well, it does mean you have to up your game. It does mean as well that if I'm coming out and I'm also on a show with all this great talent, I need to up my game, because I need to come out there like I've been wrestling all my life. I rolled out my mother's womb in a singlet and a pair of boots. I need to act like that. I need to be that person. Because if I'm ever going to be that person in the future, I need to act like I'm that person now, and learn loads. And yeah, I do. I think I remember when I went up on the network for the first time, Brooker even tweeted out saying like "game changer," I think it was, right? And I was like, and I sort of replied going, "You're the one that changed the game for me, because you're the one that gave me the chance to become who I am now." And yeah, like, I know I'm very, very, very lucky in that. And it's not that I didn't work hard. I absolutely bust my backside, because I knew that the opportunity I was given was such a great one that I needed to really just grab it. And be able to, and it was like interesting going to things like, I went to like a media con and folk were coming up to me going, "You're doing lots of work with Futureshock," and I was like, "Yeah, I am." Yeah, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we seen you on a poster," and I was like, "Oh, that's cool," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So yeah, I knew it was something that people still, because if I was paying attention to it before I was booked there, then other people were as well. So I knew it was just, this was an opportunity for me to even just get out and around. But yeah, it was a massive thing. And it will always be a thing that's in the back of my brain about how much it helped me develop.
Good. I mean, it was an awesome run. It was absolutely brilliant, and most of it, I think the fans saw most of it. You can be serious and a grafter, and you get in people's face, and
Mhm.
you want to be taken seriously. But it wasn't without its comedy as well, because you did team up with DDL on the 16th of June in 2018.
And I got stuck in a bin.
All bins legal. Oh, what a concept. What was that?
I did not agree to that match. I did not agree to that.
You need to tell me about that. How did it even come up? I mean, I know James Drake had the bin, but it's
How did it
just.
come up? I don't know how it came up. I got in the ring and then they announced it was all bins legal, and I'm like, what are you talking about? So I don't know how it came up. It came up when he grabbed a microphone and said all bins are legal, and I was like, oh, what? Okay. Yeah. DDL, man. What a lad.
Mm.
What a lad. Yeah. Yeah, we had our moments, and we had our moment. It would have been great to do more work with him.
Yeah.
Because he is an incredible talent. Like, he is incredible in the ring. And we got to share the ring that night with Lana Austin and James Drake, who both incredible talents.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how that match came about. I found out when I was on the outside. So I found out before the bell rang. So that's how it came about.
one spot from that match that has been etched into my memory is when DDL was just about to receive a peach punch from Lana, and he's got his eyes closed like that, waiting for it, and you're trying to warn him, and she tags out, and James Drake does it. It's always. I've never forgotten about that.
It wasn't me. I'm okay. It wasn't me taking it. I've taken it before, but I wasn't taking it. So yeah, just I'm not paying attention. Being a dafty, that's what he was being at the time.
Oh, that's DDL though. He wouldn't be who he is if he wasn't a dafty.
True.
And that's someone, if you go back to the creative chants, that's someone right there who's on the receiving end of every creative chant possible. The fans have about 1 million chants for DDL alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
That's because he's an incredible performer, and you care.
Yeah.
Like, you care if he's on the show or not, because you're like if you've been to a Futureshock show and DDL's on it and you've done all your chants and then you go, right, I'm going to another one because that was so much fun, and then you go back and he's not there, you're going to be like, hey, where's the chicken guy? You know what I mean? At the point, it was the chicken guy, but you'd be like, whoa, where is he?
He's brilliant. Like, just the gimmick of being the chicken is just the possibilities that has lent itself to when he jumps into it head first of 100%, and any little chant or shout or anything he hears, and it's like just straight away. He
is, like, to me, he's one of the most underappreciated performers in the UK. Like, he should be in other places. I'm just glad that he's got someplace like Futureshock, and that to perform and actually have like a proper captivated audience. But yeah, no, he should be. He's very underrated.
I agree.
Just how great he is, because he's able to be exactly what you need him to be, and that's very hard. As a performer yourself, it can be very difficult. And a lot of people some people like to be pigeonholed, as this is what they are, and they struggle to sort of go to either side. But he is a man that if you go, I need this, he does it, and he does it with everything he's got. But yeah, he's one of the most underrated performers, because if he needs to be serious in a match, he can be serious. But if he needs to be dressed as a giant chicken in the match, he'll be dressed as a giant chicken in the match without moaning or complaining, or he does what he is. So yeah, he should be definitely further afield, like more known in a sort of global aspect than what he is.
Yeah.
In my opinion. In my opinion.
Oh, I share that opinion. And when watching DDR, you get the opinion, you watch and you just think, this guy isn't here for him. He's here for the fans, and he's here to make whomever he's facing look incredible. He's not there for himself. He's there for everybody else, to make them look good, to entertain the fans, to entertain the kids, to just because when he comes out, the kids, they go mental because they can call someone a chicken. It's just absolutely fantastic. He's incredibly selfless.
I agree very much so.
Yeah, he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You have been doing a lot of work with TNT as well as Futureshock and with the She-Wolves. And Lizzie Evo shared this moment on her Twitter not long ago now of Lana Austin turning heel and joining, and the roof blew off the place. What was the energy like at that moment?
It was incredible. Like, it's obviously something I constructed myself, and convincing Lana to actually. Who would have thought Lana Austin siding with me?
Yeah, exactly.
With me, me and Casey, like our approach, like TNT as a whole is an absolute dream to work in. So was Futureshock, but at the time, it's weird. Like being in Futureshock, it was so great to work in. It was an absolute dream to work in. Great environment, great people to work with. But because I was so new, I thought, oh, this is how it should be. And then going to other places and realizing, oh, no, it's not nice. Okay. But TNT is a dream to work for as well. Like just everything about it, the staffing, the management, how things are run, especially even like on the backstage side of things that fans don't see. It's such a nice sort of like really encouraging environment to work in. And the fact is, it's weird. It's like I approached sort of TNT with this sort of idea in me coming in. And I basically brass necked and was like, hi, I'm this. I think I'm what you need. And like, it was, they could have just been like, right, you on your bike, get back home. And I'd be like, okay, bye. I brass necked it. And like, She-Wolves have been doing their thing for what, 2-3 years now. Like this year was going to be it's such a great year for us, but obviously the world went on fire.
Yep.
But yeah, that moment with Lana was exactly how, like, I always had it in my head that I thought one day Lana's going to side. Lana's going to break, and she's going to end up being my pal. And it was one of those things that I envisioned that, like, I always describe Lana as like female John Cena, right? She's loved. She's beloved by everybody, adults, kids, the whole shebang. And for her to turn against you, oh dear Lord. It was like, and I was just like, yeah, that's a moment. That's a special moment. And that screams just how talented she is as well, because she makes you absolutely adore her. She is such a great talent in the ring. She's so talented, but personally, you're like, everybody loves Lana Austin. It's just a thing that people love. She's John Cena, she's Hulk Hogan, she's this, and for her to do what you don't expect her to do is so jarring. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ, which is what an entire room of adults did that evening. It completely unglued. It went mental, and I was like, yes! The noise that I had in my head for so long was even quieter than what actually happened. Like, fans that followed her for years were just gobsmacked that this had happened. And I was just like, we did it. Like, we got them. And that's for me the thing that I crave the most. That noises that just completely, like, because I think with wrestling is when a lot of wrestling is you're so programmed into what is going to happen. This is what happens. You follow that. So as soon as somebody's able to like jar you, you're like, wait a minute, what? And they're the moments I love. Like, there's moments in wrestling that I talk about. There's weird, like, people talk about, like, oh, what match got you to be a wrestler and all this. And mines are bizarre, but it's because of moments like that, moments that you go, that the crowd all of a sudden just went silent for like 30 seconds because they were like, wait, what? Like, the idea of like Brock and like the Brock and of course it wasn't Brock and Taker, but it was that like like people making a noise that they've never come out their body before because they didn't expect it to happen. And yeah, they're the kind of things that I'm just like, yeah. But I think it's because I spent so many years getting the production side of things and really sort of salivate and like, oh, who wrote that? Who thought of that? Whose idea was that? Like, that kind of thing engrossed my life for so many years. When I became a wrestler, it also engrosses my life that I'm like, I want to achieve that. I want to be the person that makes that happen now. But Lana can like, but also it's great when somebody like Lana does it because you don't expect it. So when she does it, it's even more just, and you're like, yes. I've just spent the last 5 minutes just making noises. That's all I've done there.
That's pretty much wrestling, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. That's what it is, though. Like, as a fan, that's what you want. You crave those moments that just leave you speechless because they're the big oh my god moments, aren't they? Like,
it's the same as like any good television show or any good
Yeah.
movie. Those are the moments that you want to talk to your pals about. And if wrestling's a thing you can go see live and then on the drive home go, mine I did that, or mine did this, and oh my god, that was so cool, or like, I wonder how he did that, like, how did they do this, like, I don't think I could do it. Like, if it's a move or whatever, that's what you talk about.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of times, like, I had a really weird moment where, like, at TNT, where I walked into a bar once with one of the commentators, and people started giving me a round of applause, and I was just like, what is going on? I realized, oh, me, what, why? And then I was like, I'm just going to take my Coke and I'm just going to go over here because I felt really weird about it. But it was that weird. Like, after that, I thought about it and went, oh my God, like, what? Like, it's that kind of thing. But that's what you want. Like, even as a fan, you want to leave the stadium or whatever it is talking about what you've just seen. It's essentially like, water cooler moments is what they used to call it in television, was when people would stand around the water cooler at work the next day and talk about what they watch on telly. That doesn't really happen anymore, but it happens like via text messages or like going to see live things and talking about it. And that's the beauty of wrestling, is you're actually having those moments. You normally go with a friend and you just can talk about it afterwards. And like people saying like, what was it like to be there? Like, I was at the Mania when the Hardy Boys came back and the place unglued itself then. And it was that, like, I came back from Orlando and folk were like, what was the place like? Like, it seemed mad on telly, but was it as mad on the and I'm like, it was mental. But it's that way where that becomes the talking point. People want to know, you were there live, what was it like? Oh, I seen it on this, it was cool, kind of thing. But yeah, it unglued and it was exactly how I wanted it to go down.
It was amazing. Absolutely. Like, just you watch it and you just see them just go ballistic. And as a wrestler, That's it. That
But it was also like that was the night as well where like Lizzie, like if you watch her, like she cements you like her and Alexis Falcon both are like fully believe that Lana's on side.
mm,
You know what I mean? Like they both cement themselves there as well as performers. And they went like toe to toe. And yeah, like it's not just about Lana. Like having someone like Lizzie and Alexis in the ring to attack, you need that too. It's not just about her, it's all about everybody involved.
Yeah.
And yeah, they like that's the night I truly think like Lizzie cemented herself in TNT and Alexis Falcon did too. It wasn't just like us four were already like our post had been chipped in and we were in the ground, but they were in their fresh cement and they kept put themselves there, and I don't think they'll be. It won't. They'll definitely be there for some time to come.
definitely. Yeah, I was only thinking earlier as well when you were talking about it. I was just thinking that the talent pool in that ring at that time.
Yeah.
My
What I
lord.
said was me, Casey, and Rio, and in the ring was Alexis Falcon, Lana Austin, and Lizzie Evo, which from that moment became like what was the fully fledged sort of team, and then other people were coming in, and how far we've all went from like that moment, and it will always be one of my crowning jewels of like my career is that, which is mad that it's just me on the outside going yes. But what we did to lead up to that, to make it so like important, and it was all incredible sort of, yeah, it was very good.
Quite good.
Everybody involved was quite splendid at their job. But yeah, it was great. And yeah, the place did unglue.
It did, yeah. So you talk about Lana, and she's the uber face, and it's funny you say that because my last memory of her at a live event, she betrayed a year-long mentorship with Holly Barlow to win the title as literally seconds after Holly won.
Even I was disappointed about that. Like, even I was like, Lana!
I've got a picture taken by the one and only Tony Knox, and he caught my reaction perfectly because not only did she win the title off Holly, that wasn't enough. She then stares down and sees me, stands over Holly, and just goes like that, rub it in my face. Because I'll send you the picture afterwards. It was just, my face encapsulates it all. Charlie's going mental. My mum's staring at me. You've got other people in the crowd staring at me because they know how much of a Holly fan that I truly am. I know how much of a Lana fan that I truly was. You know that I'd come quite a lot of the times in their shirt. And for her to do that, I literally speechless. I didn't know what to say. It's one of those moments like, usually I don't want to sound like I'm a big guy, I'm on the city road, but usually in wrestling I can think, okay, something's gonna happen here. Usually, you got a little thing in your mind, but no, it got me. It's just like it's moments like that create pure magic in wrestling.
It is, and that is the beauty of wrestling.
Yeah, absolute beauty. So I said to a few other people I've had on here, it's nothing like it. Nothing like pro wrestling at all. It's a different style of magic.
It's a live stunt show that's also a soap opera. That's like, yeah, it's incredible. It's one of those things where like the amount of times I've said to people going, it's incredible. Some of the performers in it are just, yeah, you do get the people that are just like, oh, you watch wrestling. I go, you watch Coronation Street. I was like, just wrap it, move on. Like,
know which one I'd rather watch?
Yeah, like mines have incredible athletes who sell their differences in the ring. Yours has one scrap, and for some reason it's in the newspaper. Shut up. Like,
Exactly. It's that's a cat of the fish for Coronation Street. I won't go down because I hate anything like that.
See, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's just not my cup of tea. But I understand that it can be others.
Fair.
Wrestling is mine. I'm always been physical. I've always just been a physical. Like, and that's what I'm saying. My other sport that I love is ice hockey because
Yeah.
it's a very physical, fast-paced sport, and it's the same with wrestling.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It immerses you completely, especially at live shows. Watching it at home is amazing. Watching it live is just incredible. So I've been to quite a few Raws and SmackDowns now, but still genuinely, as far as fan participation and atmosphere, I think a Fighting Spirit, Futureshock TNT, that feels more closer to home. It feels better because you get more legitimate fan involvement because there's less people, but those less people are a lot more passionate and know a lot
It's a
more
lot more
about
intimate,
it. Yeah.
and you have direct you have a more direct connection with the performers.
Yeah.
Because if you boo them, they definitely hear you.
Yeah.
Like, if you're just booing in a stadium by yourself, the guy in the ring's not going to hear you unless you're on the front row just going boo. Like, if you're in the normal seats as everybody else, unless everybody joins in, they're not going to hear you boo.
No, it's one of those things where you need to get that chant going. I've gotten one chant going at a live show at WWE, that is. Plenty of indie shows, but WWE I've gotten one chant going. That's it. But it can be very difficult because you got a lot of people who are casual and don't usually go to wrestling shows. So they don't usually know what the standards of how this or that happens. So they'll usually join in when it gets going. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. But then again, as we say with WWE, you don't usually get the creative chance unless you're in the UK or you're in Europe. That it's like we say the differ from NXT UK and Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
That's where you get the difference.
Like, even when you're watching the NXT UK crowds, like takeovers and everything, like poor Zach Gibson, like just got obliterated with them. But it became a thing, and like, yeah, I can't wait for the first NXT UK takeover after all this, because folk are just going to be going wild. It's going to be mad because it's going to be the first time they could properly go for it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great. And it's also going to be a chance of like people who have discovered it during lockdown and during this. Like, there's an odd thing we've got to think about. There will be kids in the future and performers in the future who will talk about how they got introduced to wrestling because they watched the coronavirus WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And that was the first one. And then they got introduced to this crowd world and stuff like that. Like, there will be people that will talk about it, especially in the UK, because Drew won the title. Because people were tuning in to see the fingers crossed that it was going to be the first British champion. Yeah. People that haven't watched it for years probably would go, I'm going to stick this on, and their kids watched it then. And like, there's loads of things we've got to think about how much of an impact that would be on the British scene. The only problem is we've not been able to actually witness the impact because we've all been stuck at home.
Yeah.
And there's going to be, you're going to get somebody who is essentially, who's currently 2, but is going to be the future Drew McIntyre. And they're going to talk about, I seen Drew win the title when coronavirus. It's going to be a thing that we hear in years to come.
Yeah.
Like, when we're old biddies and like we're hitting our retirement years, there's going to be some 21-year-old who says that on like some interview. And you're going to be like, Spartan called it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting when we come back. Like, I think it's going to be a bit mental, but I reckon there could be a lot of new people who need to learn.
Yeah.
Right, this is what we do. Okay, let's go.
You have all the other fans around you going, Don't worry. This is how it goes.
I'll show you what you're doing. Come on. But
Come
the
on, you're
British
the right.
fans are that kind of place where you would sort of turn and go, if like somebody beside you was chanting the wrong word, you'd be like, hey, it's this. And they go, oh, thanks, pal. And then join in. Like it's one of those kinds of places, it's that kind of, it's a party environment, which is great. It was just fun.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Everybody's there to have a damn good time, and they will. And that's just say,
whether they like it or not.
You will enjoy it.
You will enjoy yourself. You're going to sit there and smile, and you're going to have fun, and you're going to go home and tell people about this. You hear me?
And they will come, and they'll enjoy themselves.
And they're going to come with you next time, and this is how it works. Right?
And that's how we make wrestling fans.
Yes, with peer pressure and aggression.
We found the formula.
That's it.
Oh my. So come the eventual return of pro wrestling, of shows, what are some of the aspirations for future Molly Spartan?
To hold the ICW Women's World Championship. I'll be honest, I don't understand why in Bard, which is obviously broadcasting, it'll be on this Saturday on the WWE Network, 5:00 in the UK. Why the championship is not on the line. Because it is vacant. It has been vacant since I debuted on ICW properly. And it's been vacant ever since. And this is the first big sort of pay-per-view match we've had. It's getting broadcast on Peacock, which is incredibly massive. Yet the championship is not on the line. And I personally see that as a dig. I see that as a problem because to me, the only reason it's not on the line is because they know the outcome. They know the inevitable. They know that if that was on the line, what I would be happy to do. Because for me, with ICW, I felt like I've been overlooked for years. As I've said, I've worked for them for years. I went and learned how to train and be a wrestler to try and better their product. Yet, while I'm going up and down the country, traveling the world, wrestling, they just don't even bother to look at me. Like that's so insulting that really realistically, although I absolutely adore Futureshock and the chance that it gave on me, I shouldn't have to have been the way. I said we should have been the place where I developed and grew as a performer. But no, you overlook me. And because of that, that's made this an issue with the company. Angel Hayes may think that this is super personal, and it's not. It's not. You are just the martyr for the company. And after Saturday, I'm taking a couple of years off your career. But in the future, I hope you understand that this was to better the promotion, to better the chances and the way that the women are looked in ICW, that people aren't overlooked because they already had a job. Enough's enough. So at some point, whether they like it or not, I will hold that ICW world. And that's important. It's a world championship. The likes of Piper Niven, Viper, and Kaylee Ray took that title around the world. It was defended around the world to make it so. And although I completely respect those two women with absolutely every inch of my heart, but by the way that company's treated me, you're going to be lucky if I don't set the thing on fire once I've got it.
You heard
So
it here
yeah,
first.
the ICW World Women's Championship is what's in the future for Molly Spartan, and that's not something that I'm just saying because I'd like it to happen. That's what's going to happen. That is the inevitable.
There you go. Uh, I'd,
Answer
I'm
the question.
scared. I'm scared for her. I'm scared for her. I'll tell you that one. That
The thing
answers my
is, that's what I'm
question.
saying. The championship isn't on the line on Saturday, but it will be at some point because they
Hmm.
won't be able to escape and they won't be able to duck and dive and not give me the championship match that I deserve, quite frankly.
Yeah. I, and after watching you for so long, it's hard to argue. And from a fan perspective, it's hard to argue after watching you for so long. But yeah, you're championship material. That's been proven.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's not that you
Futureshock
haven't won one.
Championship, World Women. I was the Futureshock Women's Champion. You will better believe that it's not. Although it was my first championship, it is not going to be my last.
No, definitely will not be your last. That much I'm confident of. Blade,
So
you
am
heard
I.
it here first. Be very, very afraid because I know I am. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So are there any socials or anything you'd like to plug?
Of course, you can find me. Basically, the easiest way, as I say to people, is if you're trying to find me, just Google Molly Spartan. I'm Molly Spartan on Twitter. I'm Molly Spartan on Instagram. I think I'm Real Molly Spartan on Facebook. I'm Molly Spartan on TikTok when I try to post things on there. But if you Google Molly Spartan, you find them all. I know it's that's easy because if you put in the image page, it's just pictures of me as well. So we're good. You'll find me that way. Of course, I have my Big Cartel page, which I sell my the She Wolves t-shirt, which is obviously the team of me and Casey Owens. But I have all that sort of thing, and all support is appreciated, especially in the current climate, because yeah, it's been fun the past year for us all. But yeah, if you follow and just the main thing, obviously, that I'm trying to get people to watch is Bard this Saturday on the WWE Network, which is 5 p.m. in the UK, but it's like noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, sort of US side of things, with Peacock obviously being a big broadcaster now, and having the network in America. And watch me take a couple of years of Angel's life. Angel life, Angel Hazy's career of her. But mark my words, this Saturday is the start of change, and it is the start of a new beginning for ICW.
You heard it here first. Angel Hayes, be very afraid. Molly Spartan, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much. If you're at home, would like to subscribe, and drop a little comment for the algorithm, it would be very much appreciated, Molly. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you very much again.